Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, today we are going on a botanical treasure hunt. We're looking at a forgotten piece of history, an agricultural marvel that was, well, essentially lost to time and the modern supermarket. But you know what the most exciting part is? This isn't some treasure buried on a remote island somewhere. It's a biological wonder that you can literally still grow right in your very own backyard. So get ready, because we're about to uncover a totally fascinating story of survival, logistics, and just incredible flavor.
So let's kick things off with a little trivia. What is North America's largest native edible fruit? Now, if you're sitting there thinking of wild blueberries, cranberries, or maybe, I don't know, some type of squash, you are completely off the mark. It's a really surprising question, right? Because most of the fruit we consume on a daily basis actually originates from completely different continents. But right here in North America, there is this giant, delicious native fruit that most people have never even heard of, let alone actually tasted. The answer to our trivia question? It's the pawpaw.
Section 1. The Forgotten American Fruit. An American native.
Section 2. What exactly is the pawpaw? A tropical anomaly.
Okay, let's dive into this. Long before the era of massive supermarkets, this fruit, the pawpaw, scientifically known as Asimina triloba, or sometimes the Indian banana, was a huge dietary staple for indigenous peoples across the continent, particularly the Shawnee and Cherokee nations. And botanically speaking, it's an absolute anomaly. I mean, it actually belongs to the tropical Ananaceae family, putting it right alongside things like the cherimoya and soursop. Yet somehow it grows entirely outside of tropical climates, right here in eastern North America. Just look at these clusters. They look exactly like plump, green mangoes, growing in bunches of 2 to 11 fruits. But it's really what's on the inside that makes the pawpaw so legendary. The flesh has this wonderfully smooth, creamy texture, honestly almost exactly like a rich pastry cream. And the flavor profile, it's just incredible. Taste testers consistently describe it as a very precise blend. You get about 80% banana, 15% mango, and a 5% mix of subtle vanilla or pineapple notes. It is quite literally a completely tropical culinary experience wrapped up in a native North American package.
And this brings us to a really stark botanical paradox. I mean, despite looking and tasting like it totally belongs on a beach in the Caribbean somewhere, the pawpaw is actually built for harsh continental climates. This tree can survive freezing winter temperatures plunging all the way down to a bitter negative 25 degrees Celsius. It thrives perfectly in agricultural zones 5 through 8, regions that, experience cold, damp winters and fresh to warm summers. Its hardiness is so impressive that it can even easily be cultivated in Europe and the extreme south of South America.
Now hold on, there is one absolutely crucial detail you need to know before taking a bite. While that creamy flesh is completely safe and undeniably delicious, the seeds are a totally different story. A single pawpaw can contain up to 16 really large seeds, which actually makes up about 12% of the fruit's total weight. These seeds are toxic, and they absolutely must not be eaten. Now before you panic, just think of it like the pit of a peach. You wouldn't just munch on a peach pit, right? And you shouldn't eat a pawpaw seed either. You just scoop that delicious flesh right out from around them. Simple as that.
Section 3. Defeated by the apple. A logistics battle. So you might be wondering, if this fruit is so large, so hearty, and absolutely delicious, why isn't it sitting in every single grocery store today? Well, to solve this mystery, we have to look at its main commercial rival, the apple. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of the issue. The delicate pawpaw versus the highly resilient apple. The apple, which actually originates from Central Asia, completely wiped out the pawpaw commercially. You see, the pawpaw has incredibly thin skin. It bruises even easier than a peach does. Once you harvest it, its shelf life is a mere 2 to 4 days, max. You simply cannot pack pawpaws into giant crates, ship them across the country on bumping trucks, and let them sit under harsh supermarket lights. The apple, on the other hand, it's hard, it's durable, and it can literally be kept in cold storage for months on end. So the pawpaw didn't lose a taste test. No, it lost a logistics battle against modern supply chains.
And the real irony of this commercial defeat is that the pawpaw is an absolute nutritional powerhouse. It significantly surpasses the apple in vitamin C, proteins, and iron. It is, by all definitions, a native superfruit. Its tropical flavor just didn't happen to fit the large-scale agricultural standards of the time, and its extreme fragility made it virtually impossible to monetize on a massive national scale. So the commercial industry just moved on, and the pawpaw was left behind, in the woods.
Section 4. Growing your own tree. Backyard cultivation. But hey, just because supermarkets abandoned it, doesn't mean we have to, right?
You can actually revive this lost fruit right in your own garden. Let's walk through the propagation steps. Because this tree has some very unique wild needs, and frankly, this is where most people fail. First up, pawpaw seeds must never dry out completely. They require a process called stratification, basically a cold treatment between 3 and 6 degrees Celsius for 90 to 120 days before they'll even think about germinating. Step 2 is absolutely critical. You must plant the seed in a very deep container. The pawpaw relies on a massive central taproot. Standard cuttings usually fail entirely. And let me tell you, this tree will absolutely refuse to be transplanted once it's established in the ground. Finally, step 3. Because they naturally grow as understory trees in dense forests, the young saplings need complete shade for their first 2 years of life. Too much sun too early, it will definitely kill them.
All right, once you are finally ready to put them in their permanent home, here is exactly what your garden needs. They prefer deep, slightly acidic soil. You're looking for a pH between 5.5 and 7. The earth must be extremely well drained. Pawpaws will just not survive in heavy, waterlogged soil. You'll want to space them out by about 2.5 meters. Also, by year 4, these trees, which can grow to about 5 meters tall, will finally need full sun to produce the best fruit. Most importantly, though, and don't forget this, the pawpaw is dioecious. That means you absolutely need 2 genetically distinct trees planted near each other so they can cross-pollinate. Otherwise, you won't get a single piece of fruit.
Section 5. Choosing the best variety. Top pawpaw varieties. Now that you know how to grow them, rigorous university studies can actually help you decide which one to choose. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer variety of perfected cultivars we have available today. In a rigorous blind taste test conducted by Kentucky State University, the Allegheny variety came out on top with a phenomenal score of 4.41 out of 5, with testers just raving about its excellent flavor. Now, if you want pure size, the sunflower variety produces massive fruits weighing up to 280 grams. And if you're looking for a really abundant harvest, data from the University of Florence over in Italy showed the Prima 1216 variety producing an incredible 14.37 kilograms of fruit per tree.
I also just want to quickly highlight a very special cultivar for the true foodies out there, the mango variety. Unlike a lot of laboratory-bred hybrids, this variety was actually discovered just growing out in the wild. It is highly prized by growers today because its flavor profile leans heavily into mimicking an authentic, vibrant tropical mango. If you are specifically chasing that intense tropical taste to, show off to your friends, this is absolutely the cultivar you want to track down.
So, we've uncovered the botanical secrets, the historical defeat, and the exact roadmap to cultivation. Which kind of leaves us with one final thought. Are you ready to ditch the supermarket and plant a piece of forgotten American history right in your own backyard? I mean, the pawpaw proves that sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries aren't found on the other side of the world, but right in the soil beneath our feet. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy planting.